Caesar! Dan! Are you alright? Diablo was yelling outside the house we were in. We're here, Diablo! Caesar yelled back. They're here! Moteas! Hurry! Diablo's voice could be heard again. After a few seconds, he entered the house with Moteas, who was carrying the still unconscious Lucana. Are you alright? And, more importantly, how the hell did you manage to kill Lizardo? Diablo asked. Lucana hit her head pretty hard, but I think she'll be fine. Moteas suddenly stopped as he noticed the Black Widow standing next to us. Who is she? He asked, pointing at Webonetta. Hello, you can call me Webonetta, she said with a sad smile on her face. She killed Lizardo with a single bite, Caesar clarified. Diablo and Moteas were shocked. But how? A single bite? Your venom must be... Moteas was confused. She's a Black Widow, I said. What? Impossible! Moteas exclaimed. He then pointed at her, saying, You shouldn't exist. My eyes widen in shock and disgust as I hear Moteas's cruel words exit his mouth. How dare you, Moteas! She saved us! If not for her, we would all be dead. I started, but soon stopped because Caesar interrupted me. You despicable, oversized butterfly! Caesar caught Moteas by his wings and pinned the moth to the ground. Whoa, Caesar, calm down. Diablo tried to make Caesar let go of Moteas, but Caesar just pushed Diablo away, ignoring him. Caesar! All I could do was try to talk to him, as I was still unable to get up. Let him go, Caesar. Webonetta touched Caesar's back. Caesar listened. He let Moteas go. What the hell, Caesar? Moteas was confused by the wasp's sudden rage. Apologize to her, Caesar demanded. Look, you misunderstood me. What I meant by that was that she shouldn't exist, as in, Black Widows are long extinct in Castana. It's in the history books. Which I doubt a barbarian like you would ever glaze his eyes upon. Moteas was understandably angry. You don't know anything about me, Caesar yelled. Calm down, guys. Come on, Diablo said, but nobody listened. What's going on? Lucana weakly said as she woke up. Lucana, are you hurt? Is everything okay? Moteas immediately turned his attention to her. I'm fine, Moteas. What is happening? Did we win? She got up, holding her head with one of her legs. Who is this? She asked, pointing at Webonetta. Hello. My name is Webonetta, she greeted Lucana. She saved us. Her venom killed Lizardo in seconds, I explained. A spider venom? Killing in seconds. She looked at Lizardo's corpse, noticing the purple-colored blood flowing from its mouth. That color, but... She quickly turned back towards Webonetta. You shouldn't exist. Isn't your species extinct? And why was Netto so furious when he saw that we freed you? I asked. I will explain everything, so please, no more violence. I've seen more than enough of it in my life. Please. Webonetta's voice was so sad and tired. We all stopped talking and sat down around her, ready to listen to her story. First off, I want to thank Caesar for freeing me. I thought that I would never get out of that cursed room. I've been trapped there for at least a dozen seasons, maybe more. I'm not sure. Time flows so slowly inside that dark place. A dozen seasons? Just how old are you? Caesar asked. Don't be rude, Caesar, Lucana scolded him. It's all right. I am quite a bit older than you. That's all you need to know about my age. I'm old enough to have seen my home slowly fall apart, getting more and more closed off to the rest of Castana, and it's all my family's fault. Webonetta paused for a moment. She was recalling everything. You see, my family used to rule the web pit a long time ago, but they did not earn this rulership via legal or moral means. No, they used our unique deadly venom to stand on top of web pit, as well as to kill anyone who stood in their way, anyone who opposed them. Needless to say, my parents were very terrible spiders. Even as a child, I saw it, and I saw how others looked at them, at us. They hated us, and I didn't blame them for that hate. But my parents got older, and with age their power fell. They weren't as strong as they used to be, and my brothers and sisters, well, they were spoiled with the riches our family possessed. So spoiled that none of them ever had to do anything. None of us ever had to do anything. Because we had everything we needed, everything we would ever want, and more beyond that. And the rest of the city just waited for us to become so ignorant to our surroundings that we wouldn't be able to defend ourselves when they rebelled. And rebelled they did. And on the very top of the rebellion, the one who led the entire operation was none other than Netto. But before I go on with the rebellion, I have to say that not every single spider in this city hated us. There were few of those who either didn't care or who liked us. One of them was Meshar, my dear husband. He was a spitting spider, not any spitting spider. He was Netto's brother. He was one of the so-called neutral spiders, those who didn't care who ruled the city as long as they lived comfortably. One night, when I was walking toward the city at a very late hour, as I tended to do from time to time, a group of rebels attacked me. They wanted to kill me as a means of sending a message to my father. And the thing is, I didn't do anything. I could have killed them. It was just a couple of young spiders, none of which were much bigger than I was. One bite would have been enough to end them right then and there. But I didn't want to. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to kill anybody. And the fact remained that I despised my parents. The way they took over Webpit was wrong, but nobody cared. The Master King knew what was going on here, but he didn't care. As long as everyone played by his rules, he didn't care who ruled each part of the kingdom. My brothers and sisters also didn't care. After all, we lived surrounded by everything we could ever want. Why would any of us complain? But I still didn't like it. I didn't like the way everyone looked at us. I didn't like the way that I was powerless to do anything. So when those rebels attacked me, I decided to do the same thing I did ever since I was born. I decided to just do nothing. To stand and just let things happen. I was fully ready to die that night. I've had enough. And a part of me still wishes that that's how it should have played out. A part of me wishes that my suffering would have ended that day. But fate had other plans for me. A young, handsome, spitting spider came out of nowhere to save me. It was Meshar. He entrapped all of the attackers with his glue and then came up to me. He asked me if I was alright. He didn't care that I was one of the rulers that everyone despised so much. He was the first spider that looked at me like I was normal. At that moment I knew that I had fallen in love. We started secretly seeing each other almost every night, and after some time we secretly married each other. It wasn't a real marriage. We basically decided that we would call each other husband and wife. No ceremony, no nothing. A fake marriage. But it was real to me. It was real to us. Soon after our marriage, the rebels attacked our home. They killed everyone they found. I only survived because I had spent that night with Meshar. He said that his brother had made some plans so he wouldn't be home for a few days. And those plans were exactly what you have probably guessed. Neto led the rebels who killed my family. News soon spread throughout Webpit, and almost everybody celebrated. The new ruling system was set in place. The Webpit would no longer have a single family that would rule over it. This was to prevent another tragedy from occurring. Instead, a council would be formed, and all decisions would be made by them. One of the first decisions was for Webpit to shut their doors to any and all visitors, except for when the great knights had to visit once every 12 seasons. During all this time, I was hidden in Mesher's house, in this house. It didn't take long for Neto to realize what was going on, and when he finally found out, he was furious. He didn't see Mesher as a brother anymore, but as a traitor instead. He captured us and proposed to the council that we should be killed. The council agreed with Neto that Mesher's treason was more than enough for a death sentence, but me, since my only sin was having my family's blood in me, it was decided that I was to be kept alive. Alive but imprisoned for the rest of my life. But instead of taking me to the root prison like all the other prisoners, Neto had to make it worse, more personal, for his own enjoyment. So he trapped me here, in the very same place that I had been previously hiding in. The same place where we did our fake wedding in Meshar's and his own house. And I hated him for that. But little did I know that my hate and misery would only grow exponentially as the time passed. Not only did they kill my husband, but a short time after my imprisonment, Neto and I found out that I was pregnant. A few weeks later I laid over 100 little eggs. Hundreds of little babies just waited to be hatched. But they never awaited that day. Because as soon as I laid those little eggs, as soon as there was a glimmer of happiness in my eyes, Neto had to take it away. First, he trapped me with his glue, and then, one by one, he crushed every single egg that I had laid. He killed every single one of my babies, of Meshar's babies. He was a monster, but I couldn't do anything to him. He kept me trapped here, giving me barely enough food and water for me to stay alive. At first I wanted to die, to starve to death, but my instincts have betrayed me. Whenever I tried to starve to death, my body wouldn't let me. I would instinctively eat and drink the little food and water I was given. And so all I could do was sit here in the dark, waiting, hoping that my death would arrive soon, hoping that I'll be reunited with my dear Meshar soon. Who knows how long has it been since I lost all hope, but then I heard something. Noise, screams, sounds of destruction and chaos. I wondered what was going on. So I looked outside the small hall on my locked doors, and I saw Caesar falling near the door. I immediately recognized who he was. A great knight. He had to be one of them. There was no other possibility for a bug other than a spider being in the web pit. I proposed that he lets me go, and in return, I would use my venom to help him out with Lizardo. And that brings us to where we are now, great knights. Webonetta finished telling her story. All of us stayed silent for the next few minutes, taking in what we just heard. It was so sad, so cruel. Lucana and Diablo were crying. I look at Caesar and Moteas. The three of us were all holding in tears. We have to get out of here. Our mission is complete, Moteas said when he regained control of himself. He's right. We have to get out of here before the rest of the spiders see Webonetta, Caesar agreed. Oh, you would take me with you? Webonetta asked. Only if you want to. It is not safe here for you, but if you come with us, then there will be no more pain. I promise. We promise, Diablo answered for us. She was thinking for a few moments before she started crying as well, saying, Thank you, great knights. You're truly the heroes everyone says you are. And so we headed to Dabir, to both report our accomplished mission, as well to explain the situation with Webonetta to him. Incredible! Dabir was amazed. Excuse me? Webonetta was confused. What you've achieved is incredible. Killing the beast was a task worthy of the title of a great knight. Dabir explained himself. With all due respect, Master King, but have you been listening to us? Lucana was understandably frustrated with Dabir's enthusiasm. I have, sharp Lucana. But the suffering that our new friend here has went through, while it was all painful beyond my imagination, it's all far in the past, and we cannot afford to grieve over the past, Lucana. We should put all our focus onto the future. We do not have much leeway before the Grand Menace strikes again, Dabir coldly said. But Lucana wanted to argue, but Moteas stopped her. Stop it, Lucana. Master King is right, and you know it too. Lucana gave an angry side-eye to Moteas, but stayed silent. Do not misunderstand me, Miss Webonetta. I am deeply sorry for what you went through. I really am. But there is no use in all of us pitying you. Instead, I would like to propose something to you, Dabir said. We all knew that he wasn't being genuine about feeling sorry for Webonetta. We all knew that he didn't give a crap. But as long as we all played his game, he would keep pretending to give a shit about us. Propose what, Master King? Webonetta asked. We could see that she was disgusted by Dabir, and we completely understood her. Well, you see, my great knights have spent the past 10 seasons resting. One could say that they are far weaker than they were when they defeated Ozara 10 seasons ago. I mean, they couldn't even defeat Lizardo on their own. But you see, the public loves them. After all, they are the heroes who defeated Ozara without having a single casualty, something that has never happened before in the history of Castania. So I want to propose this. Will you, Webonetta, join the Great Knights? Dabir asked, with utmost confidence that Webonetta would agree. We were all shocked to hear this. But what about the story he told us when we became the Great Knights? About how there were always and will always be 5 knights. No more, no less. And I look around and everybody had the same question in mind. I see the confusion on your faces, and I will explain myself after Webonetta answers my proposal. The bear expected Webonetta's reply. She thought for a few moments before finally agreeing. All right, the bear. I will join the great knights, but not because of you. Not because of those who stand beside us either, but because I can finally be a part of something bigger. I can save the citizens of this kingdom. I can save them from the suffering that I have endured for so long. Frankly, I do not care for your reasoning. All I care about is the safety of this kingdom, the safety of Castania. So long as there are strong warriors like you willing to sacrifice themselves for the greater good, I do not care who it is or what are their reasonings. What's important is that Ozara is defeated each and every time he appears, no matter the cost. Because if he doesn't, we are all dead. The bear started showing his true self to us. He started showing how he really saw us, as disposable soldiers, nothing more. We were fools to think otherwise. We were fools to think that he actually cared about any of us in any capacity. Now, as for what you probably wanted to ask me, yes, there will only be 5 great knights, as far as the public is concerned. By that I mean that Webonetta won't ever appear in public. She will be our secret weapon for Ozara, just like the crow cutter was the last time he attacked. The bear explained what his plans were. I see. I understand. Webonetta quickly accepted the situation. But wait, what about the crow cutter? Can't we use that too? Moteas asked. I started sweating. Done. I think you should tell them. The bear coldly looks at me, and I listen. I tell them the truth. I can't. I can't lift that sword anymore. Moteas and Caesar look at me in shock. Lucana and Diablo look down. Webonetta is expressionless. She is unaware of the giant blade. I tried to lift it earlier, before we went to face off against Lizardo. I wanted to bring it to the fight, but I just couldn't lift it. It was too heavy, I admit. My words were met with silence, a silence that spoke more than any words could. Disappointment, understanding, anger. It was a mix of all 3 of those. I see. Then I guess we have no other choice, Moteas said. Well, now that that's been settled, go. Go and train. Do something useful. We have less than 2 seasons before Ozara strikes. And when he does, you better be ready, great knights. I will call upon you in 50 days. You are to appear here as soon as you receive my letters. Here we will await Ozara. In those 50 days while you're training, I will work on the plan to bring Ozara down. You are dismissed. The bear gave us his orders and left the room. Curse him! Lucana was pissed off. She punched the wall a few times. Come on, let's go. Moteas tried to calm her down. Leave me alone for once. She pushed him on the side and she, too, left. Moteas quickly followed her. So that's how it is, Diablo said. I guess, I tell him. Then, Webonetta, I think we should train together. You can join too, Diablo, Caesar suggested. Just like the old times, I smile. Something like that. He smiles back. That was the last time I've seen Caesar smile. That was the last time I've seen any glimpse of the old Caesar. We moved to the Montesian tribe. We contacted Claveron and he reserved 2 big rooms for us in the church. In one room, Diablo and I were staying, while in the other were Caesar and Webonetta. Claveron also made a schedule for us. We would have access to the gladiator's paradise for 6 hours every day. We could train there at any time in those 6 hours. We were given guaranteed food and water for as long as we stayed in the church. We were really grateful to him for this. The next few days were uneventful. We trained, we ate, we slept. We didn't really talk much during all of this. Well, at least Diablo and I didn't. Both of us noticed that Webonetta and Caesar were getting along pretty well. They understood each other. But during these few weeks I noticed something else. Something that Diablo hasn't. I noticed Caesar's eyes. Most of the time they were swollen. Signs of crying. Lots of it too. I didn't tell Diablo about this. I wanted to confront Caesar about this when I got a chance. What was going on with him? One day, about 3 weeks into our training, I finally got the chance to speak to him alone. We were alone in one of the halls of the church when I approached him. Hey Dan. Can we talk for a bit? I asked. Sure, I guess. I'll get straight to the point. Something's going on with you, Caesar. I can feel it. Nothing's going on with me, Dan. You've been feeling it wrong. Caesar denied. I know you, Caesar. I know you better than anyone else. I know that you've been crying a lot. Something's wrong. And as your friend, your best friend, I'm here for you, no matter what it is. I put my top left leg on his right shoulder, adding, Come on, let me hear you out. I guess nothing gets past you now, does it? Caesar was frowning. It's just that he was angry, very angry. Why are we so goddamn weak? Caesar punched the wall next to him. We're not weak, Caesar. We're just out of shape. I try to calm him down, but it does not go well. Don't give me that crap. You saw it. You saw it in the web pit. We were powerless. We were useless. That's exactly why... Caesar stopped talking. That's exactly why what? I was confused. Caesar looked at me and then looked away from me. That's exactly why what, Caesar? His silence made me push to find the answer. I've said too much, he whispered. Answer me, Caesar. What did you mean by that? That's exactly why what, Caesar? What? I got a little out of control, but it worked, Caesar answered. That's exactly why he's trying to kill us then, Caesar yelled. His eyes got blurry. This got me worried. Who? Who's trying to kill us, Caesar? The bear, Caesar said, and I knew that he was serious. He really believed that was the case. Whoa, Caesar, now let's think about this for a second. I've already talked about it, Dan. But Webonetta and I have. Can't you see it too, Dan? Can't you see how he looks at us? I know what he sees us as, Caesar, but that doesn't mean that he's trying to kill us. Except it does mean exactly that, Dan. I've never seen Caesar so angry. His eyes weren't teary because he was sad. They were teary because of how enraged he was. Don't you see it, Dan? We are replaceable, expendable, and once we fight Ozara, we will have outlived our use. Webonetta is not a secret weapon like he says she is. She's a replacement. The first replacement. She can't appear in public until there is a space made for her. Space that will be made once one of us dies fighting Ozara. I was speechless. What Caesar was saying, it, as much as I didn't want to admit it, it made sense. It was probably true, but still, I still didn't want to believe it, so I said, I think you're just overthinking this, Caesar. The look in his eyes changed. Even you yourself do not believe in those words you just said then. He saw right through me. I looked down. I didn't know what else to say. Caesar was right. I knew that he was right. He was always right. We stood there silent for a couple of minutes before I finally asked, What do you plan to do? He was silent for a few moments, looking at me menacingly, before answering, Nothing then. I do not plan to do anything. He was lying. I knew he was lying, and I should have said something. I should have done something right then and there. But I didn't. Instead, I have made yet another mistake. I simply let him be. For the rest of our time spent in the tribe, Caesar and I did not speak. 4 weeks later, we received the letters from Dabir. It was time. Time to return to the palace. Time to await Ozara's return. As soon as we got there, Dabir told all of us to come to his chamber. He was going to tell us the plan he had come up with. I've been thinking a lot about the situation we're in, and I think I've come up with a strategy. This is how we're going to defeat Ozara. First off, Moteas will lead, like he did the last time. Except there is one difference. This time, you will be the biggest distraction. Do everything in your might to distract Ozara from the rest of the knights, shiny Moteas. Dabir started explaining his so-called plan. Understood, Moteas nodded. Now that we can't use the crow cutter, we'll have to rely on other means of killing the Grand Menace, such as the venom our cunning Caesar possesses. What? Caesar acted confused. But aren't we going to use Webonetta's venom instead? She's our new secret weapon, isn't she, Dabir? He said in a disrespectful tone, trying to provoke the Master King. The Master King got visibly frustrated with Caesar's reply. Yes, she is in fact our new secret weapon, but that is precisely why we cannot use her unless necessary. Ozara is not stupid. As soon as he sees Webonetta, he'll be extremely cautious not to get bitten by her. You would know that if you let me finish what I had to say, Caesar. Really? I apologize if that is the case, then, Dabir. Caesar said cockily. This made Master King even more pissed off. Master King for you, cunning Caesar. Caesar ignored him. The tension was rising and everybody was getting nervous. And only I knew why this was. Well, Webonetta and I. We were the only ones who knew about Caesar's theory. We were the only ones who knew what Dabir's real plan most likely was. Anyways, Caesar, you're the most crucial part of my plan. For you are to fly around Ozara, carrying Heavy Diablo and Mighty Dan on your back. The three of you are to try to wound and poison Ozara. And right when he least expects it, the sharp Lucana will jump from above him, from the branches of the holy tree, on top of Ozara, stabbing him in the head with the special Ozara's feather spear I have prepared for her. If, and only if, this plan fails, will we use Webonetta and her venom. Did everybody understand? We all nodded one by one, with Caesar and Webonetta hesitating for a few moments. If so, then you are all dismissed. Your spear is in the lounge where the crow cutter is kept, Lucana. Take it and get familiar with it before Ozara strikes. We only have a few days, if that. We all quickly left Dabir's chamber, and most of us after that went to our rooms immediately, with the exception of Lucana, who went to get her spear. We may have all left without speaking to each other, but one thing was certain. All of us noticed that Dabir was hiding something from us. His true intentions were hidden, and only Caesar had realized what they truly were. That night, I also went to the lounge to try to lift the crow cutter once again, if I could. If I succeeded, it would mean that we would be able to take Huzar out the same way we did the last time. It would mean that we would be able to avoid Dabir's intentionally flawed plan. The plan that was bound to get some of us killed. If only I could lift the damn sword one more time. But I couldn't. Or more precisely, I could barely lift it. But it wasn't nearly enough for me to be able to swing it, let alone carry it with me. I could barely carry it before, but now, when I was missing one leg and was out of shape, I had no chance of using it in a fight. I felt like shit, weak, useless. I left the lounge and went straight to bed. That was the night I realized that none of this would end well. I just didn't realize how bad it would all end up being. And 3 days later, the beast struck. Just like 12 seasons ago, we could hear the beast before we could see it. Its powerful caw brought us the memories of our last battle against him. The difference this time was that we were not in our positions when we heard the beast. "Quickly, everybody! Dan, Diablo! Where is Caesar?" Moteas asked us. We had little time before Rosara would appear in front of the tree. "I don't know," I said. Lucana appeared shortly after, saying, "Damn it! Caesar's not here? He told me he needed to borrow my spear real quick as soon as he heard Rosara's caw. Where the hell is he? He needs to give it back to me." She was panicking. "Wait, what? He borrowed your spear?" I asked Lucana, and she confirmed. I had a bad feeling about this. I'ma go find him. The rest of you be ready. I started running back to Master King's palace to find Caesar as quickly as I could, to find him before he does anything stupid. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened next. You see, I assumed he borrowed Lucana's spear in order to kill Dabir, but my assumptions could not be further from the truth. I entered the palace, looking for Caesar throughout the halls. Then I heard a voice, a familiar female voice. "It's time, Caesar." It was Webonetta. "But there has to be another way," Caesar said in grief. I silently snuck closer to where the voices were coming from. "There isn't, Caesar, and you know it. It's either this or you all die. One life is worth nothing compared to the lives of thousands you will save by doing this." Webonetta calmly said, "But shh! It will be over quick. I won't feel a thing." She tried calming Caesar down. I was very close to where the voices were coming from. Webonetta, when will it end? When will this suffering end?" Caesar sobbed. What the hell was going on? "Mine? Soon. But yours, dear, you will suffer a ton, and for a long, long time. You have a difficult decision to make, but you know that it's the right thing to do. One life matters nothing compared to the thousands you'll save, Caesar. Always remember that." Webonetta's calm voice continued. I hate this," Caesar cried. "I know you do, dear, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you have to go through this, but it is the only way. Come on, there isn't much time left. Do it." Webonetta was convincing. She was holding Caesar. "All right," Caesar said, and I finally make it to where they are. but I don't approach them. Instead, I decided to cautiously peek around the corner. I wanted to see what was going on before I interfered, but what I saw next... Caesar, who was holding Lucana's spear, put the spear near Webonetta's mouth. "I love you, Caesar," Webonetta said. I love you too, Webonetta," Caesar barely managed to let out, as the tears wouldn't let him speak. "You are destined for greatness, Castanea's hero." After saying those words, Webonetta opened her mouth, and Caesar put the spear inside. Then he quickly stabbed Webonetta all the way through her stomach, then moved the spear left and right, mixing the point of the spear with Webonetta's blood and venom that were inside her body. "Caesar! What did you do, Caesar? You killed her!" I scream as I come out from behind the pillar I was speaking from. Then? Caesar looked disturbed. "Then you don't understand. This was the only way. What are you talking about? Why, Caesar? Why did you kill her?" I was so confused, so scared. What was going on? I'll explain later. I'll explain everything later. We have no time then. We need to hurry. Caesar ran outside to where the rest were waiting. So I followed him. Scared and confused, I followed him. "Come on, then. Caesar, Ozara is already here." Diablo and Lucana were there, waiting for the two of us. "Give me the spear, Caesar. What did you even do with it?" Lucana demanded. "Here, just be careful with it." Caesar, whose entire body was shaking, gave the spear back to Lucana. She looked a bit confused, but didn't want to question anything. We didn't have any more time to spare. She quickly got to climbing the tree, getting onto her position. Moteas was already outside, stalling for the rest of us, distracting Ozara. Diablo got on Caesar's back while I was frozen in place, still shocked by what I've witnessed. "Dan, snap out of it! We don't have the time!" Diablo yelled at me, and for his sake I got onto Caesar. I got onto him against my will, but I knew that it was the only thing left to do. If we didn't defeat Ozara now, nothing else mattered. "I remember it," the young ant Antonio suddenly said, disrupting the crippled knight's tale. "I remember that fight. I've seen it with my friend Ten when we were kids." "Yes, I suppose it doesn't need much describing then, as it is the most recent clash with the Grand Menace, occurring about 12 seasons ago. All of you are aware of the outcome of that battle." The crippled knight understood. "Of course, Moteas the Shiny magnificently blinded Ozara with his wings, giving you, Caesar, and Diablo the time to gather up and start circling around him. Caesar kept up with Ozara's speed in the air, and he even surpassed it at one point, making Ozara stop right below the branch from which Lucana jumped onto him, stabbing the beast into its right eye with her sharp spear. It was an incredible sight to see. All of Anthill celebrated when we saw the beast fall dead to the ground quickly after that. Antonio happily recalled the fight that he had seen as a child with his best friend. "Yes, it indeed played out like that," Dan confirmed. "However, the only reason Ozara had been defeated so effortlessly was because of Webonetta's venom that was infused with the spear. Had it not been for that venom of hers, Ozara would have survived Lucana's attack, and that was the bear's plan all along." Dan started explaining the bear's true intentions, and with it some of the reasoning behind Caesar's actions. "His plan was for all of us to fail defeating the Grand Menace. Doing so would surely result in a few casualties. At least 2 or 3 of us would end up being killed by Ozara. And after that he had planned for Webonetta to step in, to step in and save the day by killing Ozara with her overwhelmingly powerful venom. Doing so was certain to earn her the reputation of a great knight in the public's eyes. It was a certain way for her to be a just replacement for one of us. The other replacements for the rest of us who would have died in that battle were to be chosen at the upcoming showdown that was to be held 2 seasons after. The showdown that you participated in, Nathan the Sturdy. I see, Nathan said with a serious yet surprised look in his face. But with Caesar killing Webonetta, getting her venom onto the spear before the fight, it interfered with Tabir's plan to kill you off. In other words, Webonetta's death had saved the rest of the knights from an almost certain death. Exactly. Dan confirmed Nathan's analysis of the situation. But then, how did you lose your other leg and your right eye? None of you died in that second battle with Ozara, nor did any of you get wounded. It doesn't add up. Antonio was understandably confused, as for it had seemed to him like the crippled knight's tale was over, but in fact, it had still had one more chapter to be told. Yes, I will get to that now, the crippled knight started. You see, Caesar's plan wasn't over. In fact, it had barely started at that point. His first goal was simple. He wanted to save us, all of us. But his next goal was not nearly as noble as the first one. His next goal was revenge. He wanted to get back at Dabir for all of the knights who fell victim to his plans. He wanted to avenge Webonetta, who suffered for ages, who had been ignored by Dabir all that time. And that lust for revenge that Caesar had was what ultimately led to the demise of the great knights. And it might have very well led to the demise of the entire Castanean kingdom. Dan became visibly angry as he kept recalling those events. Shortly after the battle, we all met up in the palace. We won. We actually won. And nobody got hurt. Diablo was joyful. Yeah, Ozara went down really fast this time, Lucana said. I could see it in her eyes. She was suspecting something. Motes and I were silent. He was looking at me. What's the matter then? You're pretty stiffed. What's bothering you? He asked me. I looked at Caesar. His eyes spoke to me one thing. Do not say a word. And I listened. I don't know why, but I listened. It's nothing, I say. Motes kept looking at me suspiciously for a few moments before finally letting go. If you say so. Dabir suddenly entered the room. He looked angry. Great knights! We all bowed before him. The others were very surprised by the Master King's behavior. The only ones who weren't surprised were Caesar and I. Dabir had found Webonetta's body. That's why he was mad. And I fully expected him to bring that up, but he didn't. He didn't say anything about it for some reason. He seemed to have calmed down a little. I want to thank you all once again. You have proven me wrong. You are, in fact, still as capable as ever. You have defended this kingdom yet again. Thank you in the name of Castana. Now, he continued, there is a new mission for you. You will go to each and every kingdom, starting from Anthill, ending with Hornest, at the top of the tree. You will spend a week in each of the kingdoms. While you're staying there, you will hold a speech that I have prepared for you. A speech about how you defeated the Grand Menace yet again, and how you will do your best to do so the third time, when that time comes. Do you understand? We could hear the frustration in his voice as he spoke. but none of us said anything about it. We just nodded. I then took a closer look at him. He was looking at Caesar, angrily. The bear definitely knew that Caesar was the one who killed her, and Caesar did not try to hide it. In fact, he did quite the opposite. The whole time the bear was looking at him, Caesar had a devious grin on his face, a grin that spoke, "I am not playing your game anymore, the bear. This time, I am the Master King." "But," Diablo spoke, "aren't you going to come with us, Master King? Every time we had held a speech in any part of the kingdom, you were there with us." The Master King was silent for a few moments before speaking up. "Unfortunately, there have been some sudden issues that have to be dealt with." He gave a short, angry look towards Caesar before finishing. "You will have to go without me. I need some time alone to think about said issues. You have 1 week to rest, then you are to go on your mission. You are dismissed." The bear exited the room, leaving all of the knights confused, all except Caesar, who was smiling. That night I went to rest. I told myself that I would speak with Caesar tomorrow, no matter what. The following day I did exactly that, but it was Caesar who approached me about it, something that I didn't expect in the least. "Dan, we need to talk," he said when he entered my room that morning. "No shit! Why did you kill her, Caesar?" I didn't even try to be calm about it. It was the only way we could live then. If I hadn't done what I've done, we both know that Ozara would kill us long before Dabir finally let Webonetta enter the fight. "You know what his true plans were," Caesar spoke. "I know, but still, there had to be another way, Caesar. But there wasn't then. If I didn't mix Lucana's spear with Webonetta's venom, Ozara would never go down that fast. And the venom had to be mixed with blood in order to last longer, in order to not dry up so fast. And the only way to do it was stabbing her then. She sacrificed herself for our sake then. She saved us." With each word Caesar spoke, I could hear more and more pain in his voice. I didn't know what to say. I knew he was correct. Now, the next sentence I said is probably the sentence I regret most. I do not know why I said it. There was no reason for me to do so, but I said, "She loved you, Caesar." This understandably made Caesar mad. "You think I wanted to do this then? Huh? Is that what you think?" "No, I realized I have made a mistake. Another mistake. But it was too late." "No! Fuck you, then." He turned around to leave my room. "Never speak to me again, bastard," he said before slamming the door shut behind him. Damn it, I whispered to myself. The next few days I had spent in my room mostly, thinking about what to do next. This whole thing was a mess. Then it was time for our mission. Our time in Anthill and Battlefield was what you would expect. We held a speech, sat there for a few days resting and eating, then we left. The only notable thing I noticed was that Moteas started spending a lot of time with Caesar. She must have told him about everything, I thought. When we went to the web pit, there were barely any spiders who listened to us. The whole place was still in complete mess, due to the severe damage caused by Lizardo going berserk. Our visit to the Mantesian tribe was nothing special either. Though I did visit an old friend. Claveron was happy to see me. And then came the kingdom of Hornest, The place where everything fell apart. We held our speech on the first day of our visit. Later that night, Diablo, who was usually sharing the room with me, went somewhere. At the time I didn't think nothing of it, but I should have been more suspicious. If I had known that I would never see him alive again, I would have at least thanked him for everything he's done for me. The next day, Diablo was nowhere to be seen. I had a terrible feeling in my stomach. I knew that something happened to him. Then I heard a scream. It was Lucana. "Lucana, what's going on?" I ran towards where the scream came from, and when I arrived there, I wanted to scream too. My body started shaking. My eyes started tearing up. When I arrived there, I saw Diablo. He was dead. I was passing by the hall and I saw him lying there. He's... Lucana was shaking. "He has been murdered!" Caesar suddenly emerged from behind us. Moteas was with him. But who could have? Lucana cried. "Look at his blood." Moteas pointed at Diablo's mouth, the only place from which he was bleeding from. The blood was pitch black. "An assassin wasp's poison." Lucana recognized it. "Nihil," Caesar concluded. But why would Nihil kill poor Diablo?" Lucana asked. "Well, isn't it obvious?" Caesar coldly asked. "He was hired by Dabir to kill him." "What?" Lucana was shocked by this. She turned to Moteas. "Do you hear what he's saying, Moteas? Talk some sense into him." "He's right," Moteas interrupted her. This shocked Lucana even more. "What?" Moteas got close to her. "Think about it, Lucana. Dabir is trying to get rid of us. He's been trying to do so for a long time now. It's not illogical to assume he would hire an assassin to kill one of us." He tried to convince Lucana. "What are you saying? Why would he?" She thought for a bit before continuing. "Oh Lord, oh..." She started breathing heavily. "Oh no." She looked at Moteas with tearful eyes. How did I not see this before? It made sense. That's why he wanted us to attack Kozara alone, without Webonetta. Where is..." She looked at Caesar and asked him, "Where is Webonetta?" Silence. Listen, Lucana, Webonetta sacrificed herself to save us," Caesar coldly said. Lucana realized what happened. Oh Lord, the spear! You killed her with my spear. That was why you borrowed it." She turned towards Moteas, who didn't seem surprised by this. "You know?" she asked him. "I found out a few weeks ago, but yes, I know," Moteas admitted. She then turned towards me. "And you?" she asked. I just stood there in silence. I felt ashamed that I didn't say anything to anyone. I felt guilty of my friend's death. "You disgust me. All of you do," she said. Then she rushed outside. Moteas followed her, yelling, "Wait, Lucana!" "Shut up, Moteas!" You know all of this and you decided not to tell me. This isn't something you just hide. Lucana, listen, No, I don't want to hear it. We are done, Moteas. You hear me? Done!" Moteas was left speechless. Before she left, I quickly asked, "Where are you going?" "The showdown is in a few days. I'm going to go there, to cool myself off. I need to be alone. I need to process all of this. Bye. She left the kingdom of Hornest, heading towards Beetlefield, where the ultimate showdown was to be held. The showdown that she would end up winning. The final ultimate showdown ever held. But while she was brawling in the showdown, the rest of us were falling apart more and more each day. The following night I entered Caesar's room. "Dan, what are you— Why did you kill Diablo, Caesar?" I asked him angrily. He froze when he heard my question. "Ridiculous! We all saw it was Nihil who killed him." "Yes, it was Nihil, indeed. But it wasn't Dabir who ordered his death. It was you," I accused him. He took a deep sigh before admitting it. "I guess I cannot trick you then. Yes, I ordered Diablo's death." "Why, Caesar? He was our friend." I felt betrayed. I was betrayed. By none other than the bug I used to call my best friend. My brother. "I didn't want to, Dan. I really didn't. But when I told him about Dabir, about what I was planning to do, he was going to snitch on me. He was going to ruin everything, Dan. I had no choice but to kill him. Make it look like Dabir killed him. Turn the situation in my favor. It would be enough to convince Lucana I was righteous. Moteas was already on my side, so that only left her and you." Those words I was hearing, they were really coming from Caesar? The same Caesar that had been with me through so many things. No, this wasn't Caesar. Caesar was long gone at this point. It just took me a long time to realize it. The Caesar I knew was long, long gone. The old Caesar would never do any of this. This current Caesar was someone far more cruel, far more sinister. "How could you, Caesar?" My voice was full of pain, immeasurable pain that I had never felt before. "How could you?" We stayed in Hornest for 4 more nights before finally returning to Dabir's palace. I expected Caesar to order my death too, so I was very careful during those nights, but nobody attacked me. I guess Caesar didn't see me as a threat. A mistake that he will regret, I told myself. As soon as we return, I'll go to Dabir. I'll tell him everything. Caesar will get what he deserves. And so, when we did return, the first thing I did was go to the Master King's chamber with the intent to do just that. But what happened instead was me seeing I was already too late. When I entered the chamber, I saw Master King Dabir sitting in his throne, dead. He had a hole in his chest that he was bleeding from. The blood was a disgusting mixture of dark green and black. Nihil's venom yet again. "Caesar, you bastard!" I was furious. He had outplayed me. He had outplayed everyone. I mean, ordering the death of no other than the Master King himself. Just how far will you take this, Caesar? I felt like the whole world was collapsing before my eyes, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. And the root of it all, Caesar. And how can one get rid of a big problem the fastest? Simple. Remove the root of it, and the entire tree would fall. I spent the next 3 days locked up in my room, planning everything out. But I realized that there was little to be planned. What I had to do was clear and simple. I take the crow cutter. I kill Caesar. I could barely lift the thing, but I didn't have to hold it for a long time. One attack would be more than enough. And so, I finally got around to it. I was going to set my plan into motion. I'm going to kill you, Caesar, for everything you've done. Everyone you've hurt. You've betrayed me. You've betrayed us. And I'll kill you before you destroy this kingdom any further. I enter the lounge where the scroll cutter was held. I take a few moments to breathe in heavily. I think of Diablo. It makes me sad. It makes me angry. It gives me the strength to lift this giant sword. I enter the main hall of the palace. It was time to end this. Caesar! I yelled as loudly as I could. I knew that both Caesar and Moteas were still somewhere in the palace. I was certain they heard me. Come out, Caesar! I won't let you hurt anyone else. I yelled and yelled, but Caesar did not show up. Someone else did instead. Moteas. Then he called out my name. He was clinging from the ceiling of the hall. Was he there the whole time? It did not matter. What mattered was that he was now facing me. Moteas! I got even angrier now that I saw his ugly face. I hated him just as much as I hated Caesar. Seeing him made me want to vomit. You know, then, I tried to make Caesar understand that you were just as big of a threat as Diablo was to his plans. The two of you were just too closed-minded to see the bigger picture. I kept on telling him that he should get rid of you too, but he did not listen to me. And now look at you. You are here, carrying that enormous sword, ready to kill your own comrades. You disgust me then. You truly do. Moteas's ugly, grunting voice said, and it pissed me off. What bigger picture do you speak of, Moteas? Huh? You savages killed Diablo. He was the biggest hero of us all, the purest soul out of all of us. And you say that killing him was justifiable. In what world, Moteas? If Webonetta sacrificed herself for our sake, like Caesar says she did, why kill one of us then? Huh? Why kill one of those who Webonetta sacrificed herself for? Tell me, Moteas. Moteas was left silent for a few seconds before coming up with a reply. I can't, then. No matter what I say, you will not understand. You cannot understand. You are too stupid to. He grinned at me, and it made me even more furious. I was angrier than I have ever been. Then I guess there is only one way to settle this, Moteas. Correct. Then come down here, butterfly. You know, then, I never really liked you. And I know you never really liked me, neither. Especially after I got with Lucana. You know, she told me about how pathetic you were. To think that you, for even a second, thought that you had any chance with her. Truly pathetic. Moteas mocked me. I knew you were always just talk. You were never a warrior, Moteas. Oh, really? She suddenly charged at me from above. He was flying so fast, I didn't have any time to react. I tightened my grip on the crow cutter, but that's about as much as I could do before Moteas pulled out a small knife, swinging it at me as soon as he got close to my face. I couldn't dodge it. The point of the knife scratches my right eye. Ah! The pain hits me. I feel blood coming from where my eye used to be. But I didn't have any time to recover. I had to act quickly, or else the next spot Moteas hits could be vital. It was kill or be killed. I swing my sword forwards, hitting Moteas's chest, pushing him to the ground. I quickly lift the crow cutter. Moteas was lying right below it. No, wait, were his last words. I swing the crow cutter downwards, splitting Moteas in half. A part of his severed head fell to the ground near the entrance of the palace. At that exact moment, the doors of the palace opened. Then Lucana stood at the entrance. She started shaking as she took in the scene that unfolded in front of her. I was standing there, missing an eye, above Matthias's dead body. What did you do then? Her voice cracked. Her eyes teared up. She was broken. Lucana, Matthias, Caesar, Dabir, I tried explaining, but nothing I could have said would have made any difference. It was over. No, this can't be real. This is just a nightmare, isn't it? Yes, I'll wake up any moment now, right? She turned around and ran. She left. I didn't know where she went, but I knew one thing. This would be the last time I ever saw her. No! I started screaming. Everything. Caesar has ruined everything. I have ruined everything. So many mistakes. So many deaths. I couldn't take it anymore. Then I heard him. Done. Caesar. He was standing behind me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I have to do this to you. But there is no other way. He jumped on me from behind, pinning me to the floor. Caesar! Caesar, you traitor! I felt Caesar's sting dig deep inside my middle left leg. I felt his venom being injected into my body. I'm sorry then. It will be over quickly, he whispered. No! I turned around, throwing him away from me. He hits his back on one of the pillars in the hall of the palace. He falls to the ground, unconscious. I quickly grabbed the knife Matthias had used to pull my eye out. I yacked quickly. I stabbed myself as deeply as I could in my middle left leg. Then I started cutting it off. I had to get rid of this venom, and I had to do it quick. The pain was immeasurable. It was unlike any pain I've ever felt before. When I lost my top right leg, it was quick, and I went unconscious, so I didn't really feel much pain. But this was so much slower, so much more agonizing. But I did it. I had to. I cut it off. I saw dark, orange blood flowing from my severed leg, while green blood was flowing from my body. I did it just in time. But I felt dizzy. I lost too much blood. I knew that I would soon lose consciousness, so I had to move. I had to get out of here. I had to hide. I looked at Caesar. He was on the other side of the palace, laying unconscious. But I didn't have the strength to get there. I was so close, but I knew that if I tried getting there, if I tried stabbing him or cutting his head off, I wouldn't be able to do it. So I just slowly crawled out of the palace. I went and hid in one of the tunnels, hoping that nobody would see me, that nobody would find me for the next few days. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into seasons. I spent a total of 3 seasons hiding in the tunnels, eating and drinking what little water and food I found. It wasn't much, but I lived. After I recovered enough, I decided to go back to the palace. I had to take the crow cutter. I still didn't get my revenge. Caesar is still alive out there, somewhere, planning something, and I was the only one who could stop him. So one night I came back to that damned place. The crow cutter was still lying there, Nobody besides me was strong enough to move it, so it made sense why it was still there after all this time. And below it was Moteas's body, well, what was left of it anyways. The many cold weeks it had spent buried underneath the giant's sword made his body basically turn into ashes. Not that I give a fuck about it anyway. I was only there to take my sword, but I couldn't lift it. I was too weak. So I slowly dragged it with me. It took about 2 weeks, but I finally made it to my destination. Battlefield, my old home. The first thing I did was bring the crow cutter here to my old house. And then I went to visit an old friend. I went to visit King Staggeron. He was surprised to see me. He said that everyone thought that the knights were dead. All of us. He told me that the current queen of the kingdom of Hornest, Queen Webonetta, sent Diablo's dead body to Battlefield. He showed me where he was buried. I was glad that he didn't turn into ashes like Moteas. Nobody knew exactly what happened to the knights, which is why the kingdom was in such a dire state. So I started catching Staggeron up with everything that had happened, and he caught me up with how the entire Castanean kingdom started falling apart after V knights disappeared, how everyone lost any and all hope. After I told him about the fight between me and Moteas, he looked angry, really angry. So it was true, he said. His voice was filled with hatred. What was true, Staggeron? I was confused by his reaction. Up until now, our conversation seemed to have been going on pretty normally. I didn't want to believe it when I read it in her letter, but it was true after all. What are you saying, Staggeron? I don't understand. You killed Moteas. You killed Lucana's boyfriend. Lucana wrote about it in her suicide letter. She killed herself because of you. Then, when I found out about her death, I thought I would break down. I thought I would start crying. I thought I would feel something, anything. But I didn't feel it. I felt nothing. I felt empty. My tears have been long gone by this point. I simply turned around and left the Beetle Palace. I returned here, to my old home, and I spent the rest of the time locked in here, leaving occasionally to get some food or water, living hidden from the rest of the world, slowly awaiting my death, or at least that's what I wanted to do. The truth is, every few seasons Staggeron brought someone new here, a lone warrior or two who sought to know the truth about what happened to the knights, and everyone who I told this story to ended up doing the same thing. They all killed themselves. There was no hope left for Castania. Present. The crippled knight's hideout. No, it has been almost 12 seasons since Ozara last struck. Any day could be our last day now that there is nobody to protect the kingdom. The crippled knight ended telling his tale. But I promised myself one thing. He got up, slowly coming towards the crow cutter, the giant sword that was leaning on the wall behind him. I promised myself that before that doomsday comes, I will get my revenge. He took the sword, heading for the door. Wait, where are you going? Hercules asked him. The crippled knight simply turned his head around, saying, I am going to do something I should have done a long time ago. I am going to find and kill Caesar. I'm going to finally end all of this. Wait, we're coming with you. Antonio said. I like you, young Ant. But I won't make any more mistakes. I won't let anyone else die because of me. The crippled knight suddenly swung his giant sword. The small house collapsed on top of the three heroes, and then left. Damn it! What the hell? Why did he do that? Where is he? Hercules was pissed off. He helped Nathan and Antonio get out of the ruins of the small house. Looks like he already left. At least now we know the truth, Nathan said. Nathan? What are we going to do now? Antonio asked. He took the truth much better than Nathan thought he would. He was finally getting used to the cruelty of the world around him. Nathan was proud of young Antonio. I think the answer is obvious, Nathan said. Yeah, bet, Hercules smiled. So we're going to go after him? Antonio was excited. Yep, Nathan nodded. But how do we know where to go? I mean, him destroying the house disoriented all of us and he disappeared. I think a good place to start would be the Master King's palace. We have to go up to the tree either way, so we might as well visit it while we're at it. We might find some clues to where Dan or Caesar are, Nathan suggested. Let's go then, what are you two waiting for? Hercules was ready for the trip. All right then, let's head towards Dabir's palace, Nathan enthusiastically said, and the three heroes continued their journey, more determined than ever to go with it until the very end.